Adding the choice of a crispy chicken BLT to Wendy's 4 for $4 is the biggest thing since rappers trying to sing.
I got me a yacht and I sound like a robot.
But do you like the sound of this? Wendy's 4 for $4 now comes with a choice of a junior bacon cheeseburger or a crispy chicken BLT.
From Detroit to Macon, I keep it crisp like bacon.
Both are topped with crispy applewood smoked bacon and come with 4 nuggets, fries, and a Coke for just $4.
Oh, yeah.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Meal includes small fries and a drink. Not valid in Alaska and Hawaii.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to No Turning Back, Blog Talk Radio, with your host, Ms. Burt.
Well, good afternoon. This is your host, Miss Burt, with the No Turning Back Blog Talk Radio Show, and I am excited about today's topic. With all that is going on in the world today, I wanted to have some time to reflect and be a part of the solution. And today we have some wonderful guests to be on the show to talk about some of the current issues with killing our children. So what we're going to do today is we're going to patch in all the guests, let them give a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to move into talking about what's going on in their community and reach out further into current events of the latest killing incidents that have happened across America of police killing black men. So I'm going to start off with welcoming Councilman John Chapman on the line. John Chapman is the City Councilman for Alexandria. Welcome, John.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to be a part of the call to this evening. So, John, tell us a little bit about you and why you agreed to be a part of this panel this evening.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I'm a native Alexandrian. I'm a second-term council member. For the purposes of this show, I help represent the city on the Metro Washington Council of Governments. I serve on their Human Services and Public Safety Committee. I also serve on the city's Gang Task Force, as well as the Eco City Alexandria, a number of different planning commissions. Last but not least, our Children, Youth, and Families Collaborative Commission that looks at the standard of living for children, youth, and families in our city. And so I wanted to get involved in this conversation to talk about solutions, talk about the state of affairs as they are in the city as well as the nation, and see how we as a community come together around solutions that will move us forward.
Great. And that's one of my main goals this evening, is to come up with some action plans that the guests can go away, the audience can go away to implement in their communities. All right, hold on, John, as I bring in the next panelist. Chris, are you there?
Yes, how you doing?
Hi, Chris. Welcome to the No Turning Back show.
All right, thanks for having me.
So, Chris, give us a little bit about your background and tell us why you wanted to be a part of this conversation.
I'm Chris Lowry. I'm an author and publisher of Creedom Publishing Company. I go by the author name C.L. Lowry, and I wrote the book, The Black Badge, Confessions of Corruption. I'm also a police officer in the Philadelphia area. Have been doing it since 2008. I served 4 years with the Philadelphia Police Department. My job here today, what I want to do is just give a little insight on some of the police practices. I know they're different. They differ from state to state and city to city, and also just to give some suggestions for solutions to stop the violence that's going on between the police and between the community.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Hold on. We're going to bring in our next guest. Brother Dawud, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you for joining the show this evening. So tell us a little bit about you and why you wanted to participate this afternoon on the panel.
My name is, like she said, Dawud Rawlings. I'm a long-time City of Alexandria resident. I'm also the founder of Black Tie Mentoring and Young Gentlemen's Group. And, we focus on young men ages 9 through 18. And we work to develop programs that can help with some of the issues that a lot of our minority communities are facing. The reason why I'm on this call is pretty much like everyone else to give suggestions on solutions, especially from a programming aspect, a community programming aspect of things. So I feel like that is something that's very vital to a lot of the issues that we are having today.
Great. Thank you for being on the show. James, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
Hello, James. Great. Thank you for taking the time out to be on this show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you agreed to be part of the panel this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you, Roberta, for inviting me, first and foremost. I'm excited to be on the panel. I'm a professor right now at the University of Tennessee, but I'm also the owner of Unmasked YTP, and we focus a lot on just trying to help people reach their full potential in this life. So what I'm hoping to bring to the table is just some solutions from my experiences of living on both sides of the law and just things that I think may help anybody, come out on top or in a successful situation when dealing with police or any violent situations in general or just life in general. And I'm also here to listen to the other excellent panelists and take some of their tips and so I can use it in my community here at large.
Great. Thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this evening. Brother Larry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us why you agreed to be on the panel this evening.
Okay. I'm a native Washingtonian, currently living in Brooklyn, New York. I have worked the last 15 years in nonprofit social justice activism, largely around health disparities, housing inadequacies, homelessness, and many of the social determinants that drive both, especially around HIV and AIDS and homelessness. I currently work with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and one of my missions is to seek kind of the connection between mental illness and all these other social determinants we're talking about, particularly around Black communities, Black individuals, Black men. And, I'm obviously here joining with this esteemed panel just to try to find or discuss solutions that don't just focus on police actions, but also focus on addressing policy and talking to lawmakers that, how we can change and influence a system that can help reduce the tension between police departments and the communities they serve, and particularly communities of color. And of course, the number one reason why I'm here is because you asked.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to our next panelist. Let's see. Hold on. 8132. Don't see my next panelist on the call. I don't know what happened there. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start the conversation of what is going on in the community. We're going to start with talking about some recent incidents happening in the Alexandria community. They had two murders, pretty much back to back in 1 month. So let's talk about what's going on in the community as far as here we go. Here's our other brother Malachi. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So, I just want to give the audience a chance to tell us why you agreed to be on the panel this afternoon as we start to go ahead and dialogue on what's going on.
All right. Thank you for having me on the panel. I just wanted to be on the panel so that I can, hear all the insight, that everyone has to share, on the current situation. Me being a person that was brought up in, the urban community where, the interaction between the neighborhood and the police was quite different when I came up. It wasn't, the way that it is right now. I'm just trying to, get an understanding on when did it change, how did it change, why did it change. So I just want to hear, all the views that the rest of the panelists have.
Great. Mark, are you there?
Yes, how you doing? I'm here.
Hi, thank you. Take a quick minute to introduce yourself and why you agreed to be on the panel.
Okay, my name is Mark Durrette. I'm local. I'm a native of Alexandria. My father's name is Thomas Jones. He sat on the resident city council for years. He's now deceased. And myself, I also want to see what kind of solution that we can come up with the officers and the community, because this has been going on for a while. It's just now really getting noticed and everything. And I might have a way of interacting, having the police interact with the children and everything. So I'm also quite interested in seeing and hearing some of the solutions as well.
Great. So we're going to start off again, as I was saying, we're going to start off talking about the last two murders in Alexandria. And hold on one second, I'm getting some food. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start talking about those two murders. And what I really want to open up is, I really want to talk about black-on-black murders first, and what's going on in Alexandria. The two murders seem to be in retaliation, and I really want to talk about what we can do to change what is going on. How can we be a part of the solution instead of complaining about what the problem is? We all know there is a problem, and we're not talking about police brutality or police killings. We're actually talking about, these two incidents are actually black-on-black murders. So let's talk about that. Let's see how we can what the problem is. What do you see the problem is, and how you think not in just Alexandria, but also you look on DC as well, black-on-black murders as well in the city of DC. So let's talk about that. What do you think is driving this high murder rate that's going on? That this is new to a lot of people from Alexandria, Virginia, for sure. And the spike of murders in D.C. is growing rapidly. So let's talk about what's going on in the city, in these two cities, because they're pretty much next door to one another.
Okay.
Well, I guess I could chime in on that. Especially from the aspect of the Alexandria aspect of it. It is unusual to have the type of murders that that we're having, which some is stemming from issues of issues of disrespect, or maybe just some of it just senseless. Really can't really put a hand on actual where it's coming from, because it's somewhat out of the ordinary for Alexandria to see this happening like it is. But I can say one thing, that is a lot of guns on the street. We have a lot of guns on the street, and also I guess I look at the foundation of things too. A lot of times, the problem solving or ways to resolve the issues or critical thinking. And I even had looked at how a lot of the young men that's been murdered, and the era of where they're coming up in versus the era that I came up in, where I was provided free recreation. We had sports teams. We had all types of. We had a lot of activities to get involved with, and so that kind of set a foundation. Not saying that the foundation was offered to them, but it just is a difference in the program aspect, things that's offered to them even as they were young kids coming up, that can even just teach them ways to resolve issues and resolve problems, but really can't put a strong hand on why is it happening. Especially when sometimes you place a lot of the families are placed in the same living quarters, so with some of the same conditions, and so some can grow out of frustrations, things like that. But like I say, maybe Councilman Chapman can chime in on that aspect as well.
Certainly. I think Dawud hit the nail on the head there. The two big things that I was going to mention was kind of the conflict management skills, and what have the institutions that are in our city done to support our young people as they grow older in learning how to deal with a situation so that it does not end in bloodshed. I think that is what we've seen is kind of a clear indication that we need to go back to the drawing board and talk a little bit more about how we're supporting our students and our families in this piece. Everybody's going to come into conflict, whether it's a person, whether it's an organization, whether it's, a group of people. How you deal with that really comes down to, like Dawud said, the foundation you have and how you value other people. I think that is one big thing, and I know from the city side, we've been trying to promote the value of mentoring so that you have our students and our young people have a better connection with somebody that's older that's talking to them about these things or modeling these things. That's one area. I think, the big kind of instrument to go to the next point, the big instrument is guns and gun violence, and how do we get guns off of our streets. I don't think enough has been done locally in the state, definitely not in the nation, to really address that issue. I think we do, like Dawud said, we have too many guns on our streets, whether it's Alexandria, whether it's the whole DMV metro area. I think if you talk to local officials from D.C. or from Maryland, they would voice the same complaint. The number of guns on the street that are there illegally, as well as, frankly, those that are there legally, is disconcerting. So that if you have, a mixture of folks that are not really comfortable with settling conflicts, they resort to guns. They have access to guns, and they make that a real possibility where it shouldn't be.
So where do you guys think?
Yeah.
Where do you guys think that handling conflict or critical thinking skills, conflict management skills should start? Should it start at home? Should we be teaching these kids in school and as far as elementary, as far as kindergarten? I mean, how do we get to these kids to start early?
So if I may, I would say this before as a council member, elected official, before I'm quick to say, it starts at home. I think there is a piece to that, but I know, elected officials and policymakers can't go into the home. So that's kind of off limits to me. I hope that parents and parental figures are able to do so, but I have to work with children and youth however we get them. So I think there does have to be some recognition from schools, from rec centers, from institutions that work with our population, and population I mean kids, to have some discussion about how we influence their conflict management skills. Hopefully we can also reach out to nonprofits, we can reach out to churches, any support organization that's going to come into contact with our families needs to at least understand that that's a skill that needs to be built up. I think there has been an absence of that somewhat, and we have never, I don't think, as a community, fully talked about that as a real issue and the repercussions from not having good conflict management skills. It's one of those things that is never really talked about. Some folks don't understand it, and so I think there's an opportunity there with governmental institutions and supporting partners to do better.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Yes. What I want to say is, my name is James.
Who's this?
And I live in I lived in North Carolina. I lived in Boston. I used to go to D.C. and do some illegal things. And one thing that I'm telling you from this side, and now looking at it from a different perspective, is a lot of these kids, they think they have conflict management skills. And what we need to do is redirect their conflict management skills into things that are more productive, that can truly benefit them later on in life. And I think the problem, it doesn't necessarily start at home. It starts with the individual. We need to start being able to hold the individual a little bit more accountable. They got to be able to find value in themselves. A lot of African Americans that I dealt with, when I was coming up, we would try to hide ourselves. So I didn't have the money like other people, and I didn't have the clothes, so I wanted somebody to still see me of value. So I started noticing if I get into fights, people start respecting me for that. If I'm a class clown or I don't make good grades, I started finding myself self-effacing and not really trying to stand out and be the student that was looked at as somebody intellectual in my environment. So a lot of blacks, and then we don't have value for ourselves, so we don't value other blacks. And we tend to look at them as objects, things that we can just destroy and get rid of, and there's no repercussions behind it. Because you see time and time again, the system, they lock you up for killing a black brother or sister, but you could be out within 5 or 10 years. So I think the problem is definitely systemic, and I think a lot of it starts in our mind. And I think the way that we got to, successful blacks, and including myself, we got to stop being so disconnected and disassociated with environments that maybe we used to come from, or environments where we see a lot of our young African-American brothers and sisters that struggle, because they don't really have anything realistic to look up to. I know for me, for example, I used to think that I was going to go pro in football or basketball, and that seemed more attainable than getting a college degree at that period of time. So I think we got to start making things more realistic for them, but show them how their conflict management skills, if you're aggressive, let's show you how to turn that skill into something that's transferable and that can be beneficial in a work environment or in a collegiate environment.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Larry. I think it's, the idea of accountability for a young black man living in the district area, I think that's the thing right there that we need to redefine or analyze. Because, this type of violence is not new. I mean, my dad joined the Air Force and moved away from the D.C. area because the men and the young men that he grew up with were being shot on the corners in Southeast D.C. You and I, Roberta, know brothers and sisters, that graduated from TC that were shot dead over fights, over just irrational stuff, that we went to school with, and it continues now. I think it's about getting into the mind. It's hard to negotiate that type of communication skills with a young man at 17 or 21 that doesn't think they're going to live beyond 30. So, I mean, when you in an economic environment with the jobs going the way they have been to college educated, especially in the D.C. area where it's completely changing over, and young black and brown men of all educations, of all backgrounds, are kind of being left out on the wrong end of the education and job disparity model. I think we need to start crossing that bridge and start not just applying or helping to build the conflict negotiation, the how do I manage myself, and how do I manage my anger, how do I safely vent, how do I communicate with others, to we need to find jobs. It's like harm reduction. I mean, it doesn't, all those coping skills do nothing to a brother that at the other end of that at the other end of that cycle, there's still no job for them. They can't take care of their family. They can't take care of themselves. And then it becomes about being a man. And being a man means, hey, I'm gonna knock you down before you knock me down, because they have nothing else to hold on to. So I think it's all of those things that are connected to it.
Yeah, I want to say something. My name is Mark Durrette. I just want to go back on something that was said. I think it does to a certain extent come from the home. I think that we should be teaching our kids the right things to do and what not to do. Also, in the city of Alexandria, it's not really too much the kids can really get into to enjoy themselves. A lot of things have gotten taken away from us as children. As far as the skating ring, I know everybody remember the skating ring. When the skating ring was up, everybody had something to do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or even Sunday. When that got taken down, all the drugs started to come into the city and everything, and people was being partakers of this. And crime started to evolve from that point on. Not saying that that's something that we have to do. I mean, there's different avenues to take. But we have to have people that's out here teaching these kids this stuff. It's a lot of programs that should be out more than what it is now. I mean, we don't have that many programs really that's drawing these kids to these things to teach them how to be a man, and stuff like that, and teach them, it's not cool to go out here and fight and act ugly and stuff like that, But I think also the officers that's in the community, I think that we should hold something, a function, something where the kids can be in the same area as the officers, and try to get to understand the officers and the officers understand the kids, because there's a lot of kids now, they're afraid of the officers and everything, because all they see is on TV is people getting killed for no reason from what their point of view is and what they see. I think they should have some type of interaction with them to let them know their leading roles as being officers, and they need to get some type of understanding how kids, what kids think of the officers, so they can kind of combine this thing and be on one accord with each other. That's just my solution to that. If somebody else want to speak on that, that's fine.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
This is Chris. I'll piggyback on it from a law enforcement perspective with with what he just said about teaching the kids that young and interacting with police. One of the main problems I see now that we didn't have in the past is kids are being taught that everything they do wrong, the police are going to lock you up, the police are going to take you to jail, not only from their parents but from teachers and school officials. Like, we go through, ever since the Sandy Hook, I don't know how it works in Alexandria, but ever since the Sandy Hook tragedy, we're in schools now all the time, and we constantly hear it. They'll say things like, oh, you better be quiet in the hallway because there's a police officer, you'll get arrested. And then the main thing, like, they're teaching kids to fear the police for simple things that should be handled at home and at school. And I'm talking about in elementary school. So if they're teaching them that every single thing they'll do, they'll get in trouble by the police and go to jail, they're nurturing a bad habit of hating the police and the negative contact with us. And that's one of the biggest problems that happen in today's era that didn't happen before.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually that's actually an excellent point that you put out there, because even at times, and I work at a local high school, and we have school-based officers, and right now the way the school-based officers are perceived as, if you do some classroom or something, or you get in a fight, they're going to be ones coming to get you. And a lot of times you'll get incidents where kids will get they'll get actually locked up in the school, and they'll be walked out of the school. And so, like you said, there has to be some dialogue between schools, the police department, council, city officials, and community. Like those areas right there need to sit in dialogue, because, like you said, sometimes it's being pushed out and putting a bad light on police officers. And when at one point there was a time where police officers or police as a whole, they used to sponsor community events. Like the police department used to throw your dances or your community fairs and things like that. That's something that we don't see a lot of now.
Mm-hmm. So I know we kind of jumped from like Alexandria crime into like police relations. And I think in a lot of starting with Alexandria, D.C., I mean, there are still some of those kinds of interactions, those community engagement programs that are orchestrated by the police or the community that invites the police. But I think also, I mean, I see I guess we're looking at it a little more broadly, stepping outside of just Alexandria to some of the things that have been happening across the country in Baton Rouge and Minnesota, and other places around the country, here in Brooklyn, for example. I think it's beyond just how we talk to the officers we know, to kind of bridging it out to accountability and for the officers and for the people who are entrusted to keep the peace, to be accountable for their behavior, for their work, for their record. All these cops that we're talking about that have been involved with unarmed shootings a few years, and we could probably go back to dozens more that are off the record and not getting national attention, who have had histories of kind of negative behavior when it comes to interacting with community, and largely not just communities of color, but just all across the board. So, and I ask you guys, particularly my man in Philadelphia, how realistic is it to have, more defined accountability and visibility, transparency rather, when it comes to disclosing records of cops that just aren't who attract a lot of conflict, who are involved in a lot of citizen complaints, things like that, to kind of nip that part in the bud so that it doesn't end up or escalate into shooting.
To break that down, we would need way more time than we have, because you have to break it down into sections. The first thing you got to do when you look at the criminal justice system as a whole, you have to separate the police portion of it from the court portion of it. They both should have transparency, but in different ways. When you talk about transparency in the police department, it's transparent now, but unfortunately, with everything in the world, if you don't know how to get it, you're not going to go about trying to get it. You know what I mean? So if you don't have an open, if you don't have an open line to communicate with somebody in the police department,
right,
then how would you go about it if you don't know? Like now you have councilmen and those type of people speaking now. Yeah, you guys will probably have a way better chance than the average citizen, which is the problem now. They should have the same opportunity, the same information on how to get that information in. Even so, the policies of police departments should be open. Because when you break it down to everything that's been going on, I know we were talking about the things that were going on in Alexandria, and then we're going towards everything that's been going on with the unarmed shootings. A lot of the problems has been the media. Not once have you ever heard a representative from the police come out and explain why officers have the ability to shoot unarmed people, quote unquote, unarmed? Because the term unarmed is just a term. It doesn't mean they're not still dangerous. You know what I mean? Because we live in the era now where, with MMA, we live in the era now where we just had, last year we had the knockout game where it took one punch to knock somebody out cold. Those are people that are unarmed, that are knocking people out unconscious, that can kill people. Like, you put someone in the chokehold, obviously we saw that with Eric Garner, that can lead to the end of their life. So that's what gives them the justification of doing so. Obviously, the circumstances depend, and each situation is different. It has to be looked at as different, and can't just say, another unarmed person was shot. We got to look at the circumstances. And like you said, they have to be transparent. What are the policies? And a lot of the problems with the media coverage is they'll put it out to people, say an unarmed person was shot in, let's take the two instances in Baton Rouge, then they happen in Minnesota. Those are two different departments, two different states. They have two different sets of policies. So what may be acceptable in their laws in one state isn't acceptable in another state. And when they lump it all together, like the police all have the same rules all the way across the board. So when they're talking about transparency, the way of getting it will have to be through unity with the police department, unity with the community members, and unity with the citizens of the community. It has to be a filter. It has to be someone in the middle that can relay information and give it out and set up meetings that should be consistent.
Good point. Let me ask you guys this before we go any further. Black Lives Matter movement, has this helped bring the focus on things that are happening to African Americans, or is it making the situation worse, or we're not focused on what really needs to be focused?
Okay, so I'll be the first one to answer.
Hello?
Hello?
He might have got cut off.
Okay. Yeah, somebody got dropped.
Well, I'll touch on the subject.
Anybody want to answer that?
Yeah, from a law enforcement perspective, and obviously me being a black man as well, to me the Black Lives Matter movement, I love it. It brings awareness. It's no different than what happened a few years ago with Occupy America. They were occupying New York, occupying Philadelphia. We had it here, and people were holding up signs like they brought the police officers. That's one of the things that the government does. They put if we look at it as a game of chess, they put the pawns in the way while the major pieces are sitting in the back relaxing. So with the Occupy America movement, they held up signs that to the police officers say, hey, you're one bounce check away from standing where we are. And the same thing with the Black Lives Matter movement. The only problem with the Black Lives Matter movement is, I'm not going to say the lack of organization, but the lack of figuring out the intent of everyone around you. If we look at the Black Lives Matter movement, they've been peaceful every step of the way. Every time they go out, they record themselves. They go on Facebook Live. They've been peaceful. There have been other black radical groups that have been more aggressive. Recently, we had one, I believe, 2 days ago down in the 24th or 25th district in Philadelphia, and they were just straight going at the necks of the police officers, calling out. Obviously, they were speaking on the deaths, but they were calling out the minority officers, saying black cops, calling them slaves, telling them they should be ashamed of themselves, and putting them down and not really knowing who they are. And then they were coming at. We had a police involved shooting of a young man named Brandon Tate Brown in Philadelphia, but that was another one that was during the controversial times. But the thing is, you're in Philadelphia, and they were speaking about obviously Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. But you're speaking like it's the same thing with Dallas. They had nothing to do with it. it has to be some type of mutual agreement, and they automatically got lumped into the Black Lives Matter movement when you could tell they were clearly two different type of groups. You know what I mean? So when I think of the Black Lives Matter movement, it's needed because it brings awareness with the protests and things like that. But with everything, there needs to be rules. There needs to be some type of organization where you can look at someone next to you and make sure they're here for the same reason you are. The same thing with Baltimore, because you have people, as in Baltimore when they rioted and they burned down the CVS, you have to make sure the people next to you aren't here for bad intentions that are going to ruin the reason we're out here. And that's what happened in Dallas. They took all the attention away from the Black Lives Matter movement because of the shooting of the 5 officers. That's what you don't need. The same thing happened in Oakland in the Occupy America movements. They started throwing rocks at officers, and they started getting tear gas, and then violence started to break out. And that basically, the Occupy Oakland, when the police went against the protesters, that basically ended the whole movement across the country. Everybody just started, it was like open season for the confrontations, which is the problem.
Okay.
Great. Anybody else want to chime in on Black Lives Matter? Okay.
I would say so. I think the brother brought up. I think he brought up a very good point. It brings awareness, but I think what would make the Black Lives Matter movement more powerful is showing that it cares about Black lives in all situations. You know, showing that it's saying, you know what, Black lives matter when it comes to education. Black lives matter when it comes to black-on-black crimes. Black lives matter when it comes to anything dealing with blacks. But I think it also needs to show that it's connected, showing that how when Black lives matter, it benefit white lives, benefit Asian Americans, all other individuals in this country. This is why this is important. I think it needs to be a bigger buy-in from everybody, but I think it's very important. I think it brings a lot of attention onto things that are happening against a lot of African Americans that's unfair in our society. So from that standpoint of awareness, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, Larry.
Okay.
Larry's been trying to speak. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry, I got cut off, but I was listening to the last two guys speak, especially about the kind of the comparison to the Occupy movement, and I mean I have to just concur with all of that. The only caveat I will put is with the Dallas shooting. That brother, I don't know that he was a part of the Black Lives Matter. I think he had he may have had some other issues going on, not necessarily part of the crowd. I don't know if he was doing on behalf of Black Lives Matter, but he was, I mean, the fact that he had his cause, I think is also, it should be a part of that conversation, not kind of connected to the Black Lives Matter. And you know, not to be redundant, because some of this I think was said, but one of the problems, and you're talking, I'm a person that has been a part of campaigns, that has been a part of protests for a variety of issues. I've been a part of civil disobedience actions where I've gotten arrested, and you know, the biggest consistencies with these kind of campaigns are successful ones. And again, success is measured in a lot of different ways, but it's ultimately achieving the goal that answers the issue that or deals with providing a needed a resource or action or answer for a marginalized community. It's about having a level of messaging, consistent messaging that anybody around the country can recite. The three things, the three goals of the Black Lives Matter movement is 1, 2, 3. And everybody, no matter if you're in Dallas or Denver or Dover or Delaware or wherever, you should be able to recite those things. And that's not been clearly articulated. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of grassroots individuals, people who are just looking for a life raft in an ocean, and they find the Black Lives Matter as a slogan. It means something. Just like I'm not sure who just listed kind of what Black Lives, why Black Lives Matter. But if we don't connect those slogans, those sentences to an actual demand, if we don't identify a target like who can actually provide or give those demands, if we don't have a timeline of accountability where we're looking 6 months from now and say, you know, have we gotten any closer to any of those goals, or are we still chanting Black Lives Matter? One of the, then we're not building a sustainable, effective movement. Again, the Occupy America movement lacked those goals. It lacked measurable growth. No one knew after 6 months, other than seeing the crowds, in McPherson Square or in Wall Street or wherever across the country, in Oakland, that was the measurement. It was people gathering. There was no measurable gain. And after 6 months, people were wondering, so what are we fighting for again? That's what we have to do. Now, this is not to say that the movement isn't successful. I think it's been an incredible awareness campaign. It's been an incredible energy absorber for individuals who are seeking something to provide relief or provide someone's listening out there. But if as a collective group or as a leadership, wherever it comes from, if there is not kind of a clearly articulated list of demands of goals, of who is it directed at, what is it directed at, and ability to measure movement towards that goal, then a year from now we'll all be giving away our Black Lives Matter T-shirts.
Well, if I may I interject and just speak about a couple of things. I think I think some of what the brother said is definitely true. I think the outcomes that folks seek in a variety of different places haven't been as clear. I don't think, for folks that have actually been paying attention to the actual campaign and not just the media reports or what they're seeing online, folks know what Black Lives Matter is about. It talks to that on their website. If you've never visited their website, you need to do so, and whoever's listening needs to do so. It talks specifically about what their issues are, and there's 10 plus issues that they want to focus on, and from there they allow folks to do it in the way that they are comfortable in engaging. I think that is the challenge as well, because there isn't one person at the top of the structure telling everybody, move left, move right, move forward, move backwards. They're allowing the movement to be organic. And the problem with the organic movement is that it is kind of unorganized in a way that many campaigns for specific things are not unorganized. So I do think that is the challenge with Black Lives Matter as an organization. I do think, as folks have said, it is a good thing because the conversations are starting. We're getting people to be aware of what has been a systemic problem over many decades. We are also getting folks involved from the sidelines and challenging those folks who do sit on the sidelines to just watch and say, why are you just watching? If you're watching, you're part of the problem. And I think that goes a little bit above what has been done in the past on some of the issues that Black Lives Matter talks about. It's been singular individuals fighting for something while everybody watched. And now smaller groups of people are challenging the mainstream and saying, hey, why isn't everyone up in arms about these issues? So I do think there's benefits to it. To kind of go a little bit backwards, I really wanted to hear some solutions, on the stuff that we need to do in Alexandria. Obviously, I have a bias on hearing solutions. I think a number of folks talked about opportunities for jobs. I do think that's one. That's definitely something that needs to be brought not only to our kids but our young adults as well, and frankly older adults. We want to make sure the populations of color have financial opportunities to live and grow in the city. That has to be a number one priority or a top priority of all of us in the community as well as elected officials and community stakeholders. I think a couple people hit on the fact that recreation opportunities, right now there's a big financial barrier between recreation and the ability to access it, and entertainment. The ability for recreation, that needs to be something that folks can depend on, regardless of how much money you make or how much money your family has access to. I do think, within the private sector, I think that the entertainment options have gone away from Alexandria, and nobody has taken note of that. A number of things have shut down. We used to have a movie theater in Old Town. That's gone. You talk about the skating ring. You talk about a whole number of different opportunities that there were in the city. Those have all gone away. So, that does leave a huge gap for people of all stripes to be active and not just sitting around, waiting for something to happen. So I'll
great. So
right.
Let me kind of wind us up with. Go ahead.
I wanted to just challenge. This is Larry. I wanted to just challenge
Larry. I'm sorry.
The congressman real quick, kind of a friendly challenge on the Black Lives Matter kind of model and effectiveness. And again, I don't want to come off as a kind of a Black Lives Matter basher or a hater. I mean, I admire, not just, and if you haven't read the website or don't know how or who started this movement, for those listening, please look at the website and read the website, understand the history of this. But I will challenge, because this is happening a lot with individuals in social media and just people I know around kind of the direction and the goals. And I'm on the website now, and I mean there's very well articulated issues, descriptive of the principles that focus on diversity.
Okay, and Larry, you got to wrap it up a little bit. Wrap it up.
Black women, black villages, loving engagement, so forth and so on. But there aren't any specific goals, like just overarching goals that speak to every, whether we're talking about, redesigning or training police or the judicial system, correction system.
So Larry, you're absolutely right. And I apologize to cut you off, but you're absolutely right. I think I said that when I first started. That is the fault of Black Lives Matter. I think it's wrong to say, folks don't know what it stands for. I think that's correct, but I don't think there are solutions out there that they're pushing for to a specific degree like you're talking about. I think that is something that needs to be brought forth through the organization, through whoever, to actually get solutions and get somewhere and some real movement that we can document on a number of those issues.
So
Thanks.
again,
I definitely agree with that.
I want to really quick, time is like flew past, to talk about some of the action things that maybe we can bring back to our community. And one of the things that Dawud talked about was conflict management and teaching our kids as early as possible how to handle conflict. So that's one of the action steps that we can start trying to create in programming in our communities. One of the things we also talked about was gun laws, or lack of these guns getting on the street. So increasing the awareness of getting how to get these guns off the street. We talked about working with police officers, police departments, sponsoring community events, working with the kids, getting to know the kids, having kids feel safe instead of afraid of the police. So having more transparency. How do we get that? Where do we start with transparency? I think Chris talked about it's a little bit harder. It's a different levels of transparency when you're talking about the judicial and you're talking about the police department. So we need to maybe focus on that. How can we have transparency with our police department in our community? So those are some of the things that I pulled out of the conversation. But I wanted to add this. we're chanting Black Lives Matter, yet we are killing one another. And so that's my issue. If we do not show value for our own, why should anyone else show value? If we don't show value that we are worth living and we're killing ourselves, we're teaching people how to treat us. So I think we need to refocus. Our focus need to actually start at home on teaching our children that they are valuable and they have purpose. And I think
I actually agree with that.
Basics. Go back to the basics of teaching our children of whose we are, that they have purpose, that they are loved. And when we do that, I think we can begin to see a change in our people as a culture. Because right now, we're doing the most harm to ourselves, I believe.
And I totally agree with that, because we can have as many national initiatives all we want, but at the end of the day, as we continue to kill each other, we are being heard, but we're not being heard to a certain extent. And that's where it comes back to the focus point of community, and the importance of teaching the youth, even starting at 4 and 5, even within our preschool education system, since that is like one of the biggest, the highest growing population as far as when it comes to education is the preschool area. And even moving up into your parks and recreation, your after school programs, like everyone has to be on, as we say, the village. We all have to be a village. We speak of village a lot, but we have to act as that, and we all have to share some of the same solutions instead of having so many divided solutions. So as you said, we have to, the solutions have to also be focus based. If we're going to focus on the youth, let's focus on the youth, and let's build things that are going to educate the youth on the conflict resolution and anger management and things like that, and embed that into our school systems with the curriculums that's already there.
Okay, real quick, you guys, if somebody want to contact you, I'm going to start with Councilman Chapman really quick. If they want to contact you to voice their opinion or give you some insights, is there a way that they can contact you?
Yeah, there's a couple ways they can contact me. They can first, if they want to email me, they can email me at john.chapman, CHAPMAN, at alexandrava.gov, or they can just give me a call, 571-239-3738. Perfect.
Great. Chris, do you want to give any information or some sort to contact you or no?
If people want to contact me, the best way would be through my publishing email, Creedom Publishing, CREEDOM PUBLISHING at outlook.com. I apologize. And like I said, I have a ton of solutions, obviously, so anyone wants to hit me up and take those to their local police departments to get these communities back together so we can start focusing on the kids, which will definitely drop crime. Tell them to hit me up, and I'll definitely help and assist in any way, no matter what city you're in.
That's awesome. Dawud.
Pretty much Facebook, Dawud Rawlings, DAWUD, Rawlings, RAWLINGS, Black Tie Mentoring and Young Gentlemen's Group on Facebook, and also my email, knowledgeispower2016@yahoo.com.
Professor James.
Yes, you can reach me at www.unmaskytp.com. You can also find me on Facebook from Thug the Scholar. You can also send me an email, jwill316@utk.edu.
Activist Larry.
Through email, anyone can contact me at positive.brown, that's POZITIVE.brown@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Larry Bryant Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm kind of haunting all the Facebook, all the social media stuff, and I'm looking forward to this conversation continuing.
Yes, Brother Mark. Mark, did I lose him? I think I may have lost Mark. I don't see him. I might have lost him. He might have dropped. All right, guys. Well, I hope that we scratched the surface. It's so much deeper than this conversation, but at least we're talking about it. Does everyone agree to that part?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
Can I say thank you to all the brothers on the phone? I thought we had a sister earlier, but everyone that's participated, this has been a great conversation. I'm glad that we're having it out loud.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks,
great
guys.
conversation.
I really appreciate it. We need to dig a little bit deeper in this. I would like to have actually a sit-down forum and go a little bit deeper on some of the solutions that I capped over, and maybe Dawud can work with Councilman Chapman on some of those issues.
Yeah, definitely.
We talked
More than
about.
happy to.
For sure. Anyway, if I can help speak to inspire to come in and talk to the kids and help with some programming, feel free to reach out to me. I will be at Radcliffe's networking tomorrow, so hope to see you guys there as well. And please make sure you come out on September the 17th at the Fairhaven Community Center, where I will be hosting our first Black Authors event. So come out if you know an author or another publisher company or another editor. Have them come out as well. We're going to have a great time networking. The author's going to be able to sign some books, do some interviews. We're going to have headshots and a whole lot of things to be going on. So come on out and support us on September the 17th. Speight Speaks to Inspire and Black Roots of Alexandria. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating tonight, and I look forward to having this conversation go forward.
Thanks, Roberta.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta.
Thanks.
Don't just demand policy change, vote for policy change. Right, Councilman?
Man, oh man, oh man! What a great call! Like I said, it goes much deeper than this. So we're going to keep working on and keep focusing on getting down to some real action plan for our community. So you know what to do. Dream big to win big. So keep pushing.
Welcome to No Turning Back, Blog Talk Radio, with your host, Miss.
Are you ready to lose those love handles? Do you work hard to stay in shape and eat healthy, yet you can't get rid of stubborn fat? Now there's a clinically proven way to help you look slimmer without surgery or downtime. It's called Sculpture. Sculpture's innovative procedure destroys fat in just 25 minutes with visible results as quickly as 6 weeks. Sculpture sounds amazing, right? Check it out for yourself by clicking on the banner or go to goodbyefat.com.